An aside, we are going to talk quickly now about Super Rugby,
Yes.
which is going on. It's getting pretty tense. It's getting pretty much towards the
Getting
end
towards
of
the
the season.
business end, yeah. We'll
Yeah.
have to start giving it like proper who's going to win it kind of thoughts, because well, apart from the Crusaders, who's going to manage to beat the Crusaders?
Yeah.
Apart from
This
no
is where the tournament has lost its intrigue because the Crusaders gotten so damn good and nobody can compete.
no
with
one
them.
else is on the same level. It's not
Yeah.
it's like they are so damn good, and not don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, but it feels like a lot of the time they're the only ones doing things properly.
Yeah, well,
and
like the
other
big
teams aren't.
the big
that game against
yeah.
the Bulls was such a
Yeah.
a show of just a golfing like, and it's
Yeah.
not like the Bulls have like classy players, but they just looked completely undrilled,
Yeah.
completely unsophisticated compared to what the
exactly.
Crusaders
Like,
are bringing.
if you go down the list, like there's that big debate of like who would win. Last year was Leinster and the Crusaders. This year would be Saracens and the Crusaders. And there's arguments both sides, but that
That'd be a
Leinster
game.
are going to beat the Hurricanes, second best in the comp, and I think that Toulouse are probably going to beat third best in the comp, and Munster or Clermont are going to beat fourth. Like I think that there is a gulf beneath the Crusaders, and then a wider gulf as you get down towards the bottom of the tournament. That is, definitely a little bit telling. But also there's definitely like it's a hard one-to-one comparison just because it's a bunched season. It's this weird format, and there's a load of travel that is definitely impacting.
And the games tend to be played in sunnier climes. A majority of the games tend to be played in sunnier climes, hotter climes.
Although
than
it's
the
getting
European
to winter time.
It is getting to winter time
Winter is
now
the
for
business
them.
end for them, which
This
is this other weird colour.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It means well, it's like as is often the case. It's only really the New Zealand teams that are equipped to handle like torrential rain and wind, that kind of stuff, because they're the only ones that routinely get it and still go on with a game of footy. So they tend to add up an advantage that way.
Games at the weekend were Hurricanes beat the Blues out in Auckland.
In a good game, but poor Blues. Always
indeed.
The bridesmaid.
Rebels beat the Reds. That's a big win for the Rebels.
Yeah.
I was happy to see it. Danny Cipriani gets a laugh.
We're not Danny Cipriani.
Danny Cipriani and Quade Cooper. You can forgive me for getting those two mixed up.
They're the little the Aussie equivalent of Cipriani in Quade Cooper.
Yeah.
To be fair though, I actually think I rate Cipriani higher than Quade.
Yeah, fair enough. But a good little win for Quade against
Brad Thorne's Reds.
Yeah.
Joyless Reds.
Yeah, the joyless Reds lose again, and they're not going to the playoffs, which is
will
good.
not be in the playoffs.
The interesting little narrative is that the Brumbies, with their 33-0 win over the Sunwolves, now have 5 in the bounce of their own, and are well back into the swing of things in the Aussie Conference.
Yeah.
And playing some decent footy. Leo Lafano's back in the Wallabies squad now after his form.
I don't know if that's a good thing, but
well, certainly a win over the Sunwolves is not necessarily magnificent, and the seasons
what's the gulf between them and the Rebels now? They're
1
first
point,
and second.
but the Rebels have a game in hand. So
the
Rebels
are still top.
Yeah.
They've been good this year. The Rebels, the band back together.
The band back together is right. It's a shame that it's the Rebels and not the Force, but they're still on they're on the pitch. Antics can't be argued with.
Yeah.
The Jags' run ended in a very creditable defeat.
It was defeat in New Zealand, but only what was it,
27?
32-27.
Yeah, so a losing bonus point.
The Jags look better this year. It's very much Argentina World Cup season syndrome, where it's like we know these guys can play,
and it's still simmering away. It's still simmering away to the point that you think that they are going to get better and better as the season goes on, and be an intimidating prospect,
for the World Cup.
certainly for the French when it comes around to World Cup time. But in the meantime,
the
English
are facing them, aren't they?
England and France. Yeah, that's right.
It's a scary one. Oh, they're such a scary team for anyone, really.
They really are.
You
don't really know what's going to happen.
How do you do your homework on Argentina?
But in the immediate, they are 1 point off with a game in hand. The Sharks, who are leading the South African Conference, tied with the Bulls, so they're in third. But themselves and the Bulls are on 28, and the Sharks are ahead of them on 29, but with an extra game played. So I mean, they are well in it within the playoff shake-up. Yeah. And
more so than the Lions.
They've got to be keen to make their first playoffs.
Yeah.
The Sharks, meanwhile, I mean, like, they had their early season was decent, then they had a rocky performance with a load of derby games that didn't go their way. But they are by far my favourite South African team, because they have
you back at their bottle a bit more. They go on tour and do some
stuff. They
stuff.
actually are more of a team than the teams with. They don't have as much talent, but they're more of a team. And they always go on tour well. They're the last side, certainly the last South African side to go to Crusaders and win. Yeah. In that epic game where they had a red card and they won it with 14. That was way back in the day, like when McCaw was playing. And but they were like, they have always had a bit more balls about them than the other South African teams, and they've been brilliant on tour again. And they were holding that ball against the Chiefs in the last play for ages and ages and ages, knocking on the door, and it just didn't go their way. The Chiefs did enough, but the Sharks certainly
ran them the whole way.
Ran them the whole way is right, and it was still one score when the clock minute reached 80, and they were going for it. And I just think they're a very, very admirable team, and I hope
more so than any of the others. The South African teams are so hard to get on board with. Like I want to like the Bulls, but they
I'd love to
piss
like the
me
Bulls,
off so regularly.
Like Andre Pollard.
That little montage of him like reacting to all the terrible stuff on show.
It was hilarious.
Just him absolutely smouldering in the background. Looking.
There was a wonderful shot of there was like a few of them. I think Rugby Pass put it all together of shots while the Crusaders were scoring tries of what Pollard was doing at the moment. But there was one great try of just in the very foreground, like a Bulls defender floundering on the floor, Crusaders lad running in, and then just in the very background, Pollard just with a glare on his head, hands on hips, and just staring it down.
I'd like to say things like Sexton's probably a bit of a bollocks and stuff, but I'd say Pollard as a 10.
I'm sure he is.
Doesn't have any, because he's so physical as well.
He has more to complain about.
He carries and tackles as well all the time. And he plays a lot like a 12, so missed tackles and softness.
He hates
everything about it.
And for sure. They're frustrated. They would frustrate you, and they're not going to win anything.
I can never back them. They're not going to win outright. No, they just they lose too often. They're flaky. Too flaky as a performers, and too loose systems wise. Like that's what the Crusaders were showing really in that game. Was just the gulf in detail. In both teams. Well,
in Scott Robertson, you have more than in any other franchise, and this didn't used to be the case, but it so is the case now, that there's no indication of Jake White back in South Africa, or even when he was with the Brumbies. The Crusaders are not just the most talented, but far and away the most structured side in the competition. The Sharks have a little bit of that, but for the most part, even the talented teams are playing a much looser game. And that's why I say with such confidence that Leinster would beat the Hurricanes, is because the Hurricanes they have all the talent in the world, but they play a flaky ass little game, and they're gettable at. And Leinster would hold the ball against them, and they wouldn't have an answer. Arnie Sevilla would have no plays in them. But that's the point, is that what the Crusaders are the reason that the gulf is so great is because they're focused and they're structured and they're much more professional than the other outfits in the competition. And the Bulls are the antithesis of that, and got shown up rightly.
They're kind of symptomatic of the competition in terms of just being that flaky, that loose, and really they do not like welcoming New Zealand teams over to South Africa, do they? Because didn't the Chiefs put an absolute score on them earlier in the season as well?
I think that was their only other game against a Kiwi team in the season, and those are the ones where you get your pants pulled down and you get taught what it is to play in this comp. Another side that managed to avoid those occasions are the Lions, and we're at home again, as they are every week. They play at home, and they got the win against the Waratahs.
1 point.
Sketchy penalty on 67 minutes, and then there was no score thereafter. So fair enough. The Taz didn't have the bottle to get it done, and the Lions got a win, and they're sort of back in the playoff mix, but hopefully they'll be seen off by someone. Sharks or Bulls even are still up there, but
get rid of them. Get them out of there.
Take them out of there. But that was the situation. And then obviously this week there's a few teams on bye. Hurricanes v Jags is a great game. Jags are still on tour.
Jags still in New Zealand.
They do need points. They need point. They can't fall away.
It's tired. Made that. How much effort went into securing only that 1 point in against the Highlanders.
The Bulls are off to Australia to play Melbourne Rebels, who are high flying, and that'll be a fun game.
It'll be a tough game for them.
It'll be a tough game for them.
I think the Rebels will probably.
You usually back the home side in those games when someone's crossing the Indian Ocean, but unless it's a Kiwi team, obviously. But if it's between Australia and South Africa, the team that's crossing the Indian Ocean is always not the one to bet on.
Yes, indeed.
So and the Rebels are high flying, and the Bulls are kind of floundering. That said, the Bulls have the physical game in them to do some damage to the Rebels, so that could be a great game.
Potentially, it's definitely competitive.
The Kiwi derby of the week is the Blues against the Chiefs. The Blues have faded. They have some man on who plays in them. They'll nearly win and then lose.
Do you reckon?
Yeah,
that's exactly what's going to happen, isn't it?
Yep.
The Chiefs have been they've certainly been less potent than they have been in seasons gone by.
They've picked themselves up after some really poor early season form, some startlingly poor early season form.
Yeah.
Marty McKenzie at 10 has sort of
He's been
solidified
okay.
what they're
I
doing.
like what he's doing.
Yeah,
To be honest.
Yeah, 100%.
And
And Leonard
Brown's having a great season.
in
fact.
That centre conundrum for the All Blacks just tightens up.
I know. It comes into focus again as the World Cup roams around.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many of them. Mape keeps playing well, keeps grabbing scores, even though it doesn't feel like he's an All Black player.
I'm just not comfortable with him playing for the All Blacks because he's so direct. He's like CJ Stander in the centre, works for him at club level, but he does just bull rush for contact and bull rush for tries, and that's just like he doesn't have the smarts of an Anton Leonard-Brown.
Yes, true. Yeah. Or a Crotty.
It's
also
and good
Jack
Goodhue.
Jack
Crotty is. I'm not sure if he's
who's
been around.
that other lad who's been playing? Oh God, is he a Chiefers? He keeps grabbing tries.
Which lad?
I think he's a new lad this season. Oh God, is he maybe with the Crusaders actually? 13. Enor.
Played in Enor. Yeah, Enor's great.
He's really
That's
good.
what I was saying.
Well,
that Crotty hasn't been around. It's been Enor and I was thrown by your Chiefs mark, but Enor and Goodhue obviously has been great as well. Yeah. So there's all kinds of options, and I don't think Mape fits into what the All Blacks do. In fact, if they do go for Mape, it could be a similar picture to the All Blacks on the Lions tour, getting just a bit too tight and a bit not themselves
at all,
and that could be a losing picture for them.
Yeah,
but
anyway, we digress again.
We digress again. The Reds are playing the Waratahs out in Queensland,
in Kiwi Queensland,
in a make or break for both teams.
It is, they're both still just about in contention, but they are like
needing
they're
wins.
Leaking a few too many points now, and it's getting to that time of the season where you can't really afford to keep losing bonus pointing for teams in their position. So
both of those teams have to win that game, so that could be good. The Taz have been flaky all year. It's not inconceivable.
It's a minus Falau Taz.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, Carmichael Hunt at 12 is making some plays. Bernard Foley is the guy who's really just out of kilter and is sort of alarming from a Checa perspective, that it's like it may end up being Quaid or no one here at 10 for you. Carmichael Hunt is doing decent things at 12. Leilef, maybe that's why he's back in. They may throw him in. Tamu, obviously from Leicester, is coming to town. He's been released a week early from Leicester, so he's coming up to play for I think it's either the Rebels or the Brumbies. He's going to spend the rest of the season with them, and then obviously be an option.
Right, okay, I didn't know that. Yeah. Fair play.
So there's all kinds of potential there. I don't know who's going to win that game. I think it's you could potentially see Brad Thorne's guys doing a job on the Taz.
I think so. Yeah, I kind of think so.
Yeah,
well drilled and organised against slightly loose and out of form.
Or away from Carmichael Hunt and Curtly link up.
Oh my God.
And
I would love that.
Yeah.
In fact, I that's one of the the positives of Falau being annexed from the whole thing, is that now it frees up space to get Carmichael Hunt in there
and Beale on the pitch
to get him in there
making plays.
Yes,
yeah.
I like Carmichael Hunt.
I do a lot. He was very good against the Lions. He was setting up some tries, got good offloads to him.
Yeah,
he's a lover, not a fighter.
He's indeed, and he's a footballer. I see another game there. Lions playing yet another home game
against a Kiwi
team.
That's got all kinds of potential to it. The Highlanders again have been tit for tat.
They are as this season.
They are as it stands in the playoffs on a wild card position, but
that's precarious.
It's precarious. Yeah. These are the kind of games that you'd want to see them winning. And you would.
What I want is them to hammer them and put a bonus point win.
You just don't know if that's
curb stomp them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Those last 20 minutes at altitude.
Always a telling factor. Yeah. It's another potentially very good game. Perhaps one that you will enjoy watching. And finally, the Stormers against the Crusaders. Stormers didn't play last week. They've been kind of
they've had some good big performances in them.
Crusaders to win by many points.
It's probably it's the safe bet is to say the Crusaders are around 10 points better than anyone and comfortably away from home.
No, that one I think is open and shut. Crusaders. Until Sia Khaleesi comes up with
Isn't
a big play.
I can see Sia Khaleesi being an impact for them and possibly doing damage.
But that's it every week. The Stormers go, no, they're very bad, but Sia Khaleesi and Peter Steff are there, and that's
Peter Steff.
Is Dwayne Vermeulen still playing with them?
He is.
Yeah, he's still around.
They're big and strong, the Stormers. And this is why when they can string it all together,
Dwayne Vermeulen with them or the Bulls.
Oh, maybe
I think he's with the Bulls. He's with the Bulls.
I think he is actually, because I think I remember him getting a steal at the weekend.
Yeah.
And Dwayne Vermeulen comes away with that ball. Yes. Yeah.
So no, the Stormers are getting beaten by the Crusaders.
That's the plan for them, is it?
Yes,
Right,
and
okay,
we're gonna get more dovetail deep into it. Obviously, the playoffs. There's 5 more rounds and then the playoffs,
and we'll just have, considering European rugby's wrapping up and we're getting towards World Cup things, we'll have more of the show to fill with Super Rugby. So for those fans of Super Rugby, so we will
certainly we'll be going into it in a bit more detail than we have been doing in the weeks to come as it approaches the business end.
Yeah. Thank you very much for watching that video. If you're new here, please like and subscribe down below, and leave a comment as well, because we enjoy the chat and conversation.